Hello, good afternoon. My name is Erik Stephen Haugk-Higgins, and good afternoon, Berlin. I am coming to you live from Fort Lauderdale, Florida right now. If you could not tell by my accent, I am American, native, and so I've been home visiting my family. So I am in a hotel, and I will be traveling back to Berlin this evening. I'm very happy to be here with every single one of you and be a part of Sticks and Stones 2021 Digital Job Career Conference. I think this is a great expo. I was able to go to it live several years ago, and more than happy to be able to speak with all of you. So today, I'm going to be talking to you about defining success and how we measure it, essentially. And so the title is called Breaking Berlin, Defining Success and How to Measure It. So what I will do is I'm going to share my screen with you, and we're going to go through a PowerPoint, which I'm going to keep very simple for every single one of us, and break down some of my experiences coming to Berlin over the past 4 years and what that's been like, and some different things that you can expect looking for a job in a new country, or if you've even been here a while, what it looks like to look for a job within the Berlin market, the German market, and the international DACH region. So let me share my screen and we can get started. Breaking Berlin, defining success and how we measure it. So a little bit about myself. So I am 35 years old. I have lived in Berlin full-time now for 4 years, this coming July 17th to be exact, I think. And a lot has changed. I live in Germany, and that is a much different country than the United States of America, which, as you can imagine, is a bit of a culture shock at times. So if you are visiting us internationally, have just moved to Berlin, have just moved to Germany in general, I'm hoping that you find some value in this, and feel free to come to the Q&A afterwards. So I do have an MBA in International Business Management, and I am a certified executive coach, essentially. So I assist executive level staff members, employees with public speaking, with planning, different services. And I own a consulting company in the US, H² Consulting LLC, and I freelance currently in Germany as well. So to give you just a quick breakdown, currently what I do is I am a docent, or a guest lecturer at 2 universities in Germany. I am writing e-commerce 1 for a school called IU, International University. And I'm in the process of writing the curriculum, the tests, and everything that you could possibly imagine for e-commerce 1 for a master level program, while I am also teaching at Magdeburg Stendal Hochschule. It's about 2 hours outside of Berlin, of course, teaching on Zoom due to Corona. And I teach mündliche und schriftliche Kompetenz, which means essentially oral and written grammar in English. And I teach it to students who are bachelor level, who will be going into the field of technical translation. So I'm assisting them with public speaking, how to get their points across, how to think about their careers, how to write, how to prove their points. And so let us begin. So the first piece, lesson 1, defining success. And like I said, we will keep this very simple. The first point is being able to write down your goals. So when I moved to Berlin 4 years ago, I'd finished my career at a very large Fortune 5 in the United States called Grainger. And you can think of Grainger like an Amazon for industrial distribution. So we had everything that you could possibly imagine to keep the world up and running, in essence. And finishing my job, or leaving my job to move to Berlin, was quite a shock. The reason I did that was because I found my partner. His name is Richard, and fell in love, kind of a fun romantic love story, and we decided to start our life in Berlin. And I remember moving there thinking how easy it would be to get a job and to transition. And the fact of the matter is that was not the case for me. It was a little bit more challenging than what I had anticipated. And even though in my brain, I knew how to define success, I knew that I found it more difficult to be able to do that life, or to be able to do that when I moved to Berlin than I'd originally planned. So what I learned along the way, and what I used to teach my reps when I lived in the United States working for this Fortune 5 as a leader, was the most important thing that you can do is write down your goals. And by writing down your goals, that means that you would write them down possibly daily, weekly, monthly, however you choose. For me, I prefer to write down my goals daily, whether it's a to-do list, and I like to circle what the most important goal is for me to lead to long-term success. So when I moved to Germany and I started interviewing for jobs, I didn't find anything that aligned with me, nothing that fulfilled me from a compensation standpoint or from a purpose-driven standpoint. And I started to get very frustrated. So I went back to the drawing board and started to write down really what I wanted out of life. And some of the top things that I thought about that I wanted, that I started to write down daily, were I wanted to have, the first piece was a good work-life balance. I moved to Germany and I wanted to be able to experience what that was like. Monetary compensation is important for me, but it wasn't the most important. So work-life balance and purpose were the top two things. So feeling fulfilled. And I started to write this down on a daily basis in a journal when I woke up, and started to think about exactly what it is that would fulfill me and what would give me purpose. And what I started to figure out was that teaching actually, and or coaching specifically, is what I really enjoyed. And as I wrote this down and I started interviewing for jobs and couldn't find anything that I liked, I decided to look back at education again. And Germany has a wonderful education system. If you're there and you are a German national, of course it is free. Or if you're getting your bachelor's or master's, it could cost some money, but not as expensive as the United States, for example. So I made the decision to go back to school. And so one of the goals that I ended up writing down was I wanted to get my MBA, and that I wanted to be able to achieve that by 2020. And that I also wanted to be able to, as I'd stated, be able to have a work-life balance and be able to enjoy Germany, and be able to feel fulfilled. So as I started school, one of the things that I also really started to learn along the way was the importance of positivity. So the second bullet point that you see here is the importance of creating a belief system. And a belief system can be different for every one of us, just like our goals can, because what we value internally can be very different than what somebody else values. So the power of positivity can be a very, very powerful thing. Something that I like to say is that confidence equals competence. So when you believe in yourself, you write down your goals, and you have a path forward, we tend to have a lot more internal strength for ourselves. And when we start looking for jobs, careers, or things that fulfill us and defining success measures, that power of positivity really comes into play. Now, the third piece, which a lot of us have difficulty with, is taking the time to invest in yourself. Now, what does that mean, investing in yourself? In my case, that meant going back to school and getting my MBA. That meant looking at my life before the age of 30, what I did in the United States as far as a job was, and how that could translate to Germany, and what I liked about my job in the US, what I didn't, what I wanted to bring with me to Germany and what I didn't, and what I could do to help myself move forward. So as I wrote down my goals, believed in the power of positivity, and started to invest in myself, that's when I went to get my MBA. I also decided that I would act as a freelancer and start getting experience, because I wasn't sure I wanted to go back into the sales realm, which is what I did when I lived in the US. And so I went to IU, which is International University, where I'm actually writing my second book for them, actually, and figured out how much I actually enjoy teaching. So moving from a place like the US to Germany, you surround yourself with a lot of different people. And I suggest that everyone continues to do that, whether you are new to Germany or whether you've been there for a while. Surrounding yourself with people and new experiences is an absolutely invaluable endeavor, because nobody can ever take that away from you, right? Nobody can take away your learned knowledge and what you do for yourself internally. So one of the things that happens, though, typically, especially when we move, when we're looking for jobs and or we don't get the job we want or get accepted to the school we want, we start to overanalyze and overthink. And something like this can happen. I don't know if any of you have ever felt this way, but sometimes when I get anxiety or I feel as though I might not have gotten the role that I wanted specifically, that my head could feel like it's going to explode. And that's kind of what this feels like when we overthink. And that's the point of wanting to be able to write down goals, being able to invest in yourself, and play on that power of positivity. Because the fact of the matter is, you will run into obstacles, especially in a place like Germany that has a lot of bureaucracy, right? So if you're on a student visa and or a work visa, there's some extra hoops sometimes that you have to jump through. And sometimes frustration can be a part of that. And being able to effectively work through that and not beat yourself up too much is important, right? Our identities as LGBTIQ plus individuals have a lot to do with our purpose in life, whether that's having kids, whether that's a job or whatever. And when we don't achieve those goals, sometimes we can be very hard on ourselves. And one of the greatest pieces of advice I could give anybody that is listening is to be kind to yourself and to know that roadblocks will be there, and that they will happen. And this is part of the importance of surrounding yourself with new people and new experiences, so that when you do run into roadblocks and or frustrations, you have somebody that you can talk to, people that you can bounce ideas off of, people that understand the German culture, right? So it took me a while sometimes, probably about a year, to figure out every once in a while when somebody's not smiling at me, that doesn't mean anything's actually wrong. That just means that German culture is a bit different than American culture, right? And that's an adjustment. Europe is different than the US, just like Europe is different than Asia, is different than Australia, is different than Africa. Now, defining success sounds easy, right? So the easiest way to sum it up with defining success, you have to figure out what you want internally. Once you figure out what you want internally, whether it's monetary, personal, and or other, writing it down daily will honestly help. On average, it takes 66 times to develop something into a habit. So it could actually take 120 times to write something down. Maybe it could take 30. But it takes an average of 66 times to develop a habit, whether that's journaling, writing your goals down, going to the gym, and or other. And then playing on that power of positivity, not overthinking, and making sure that you put that positivity into the world and that you are confident in yourself and your abilities, right? So the next piece, once we figure out what we want to go after, whether that's going back to school, whether it's a specific segment with a job, or whether it is exploring a brand new career, we have to define how we want to measure that for ourselves. Because we all have our own unique and individual goals, how we decide to measure something can be very different than how somebody else measures something. What I mean by that is, for example, if somebody's main goal is to make quite a bit of money, how that person is going to measure success is going to be different than the person that measures success that's looking for work-life balance. So no two people are the same, no two goals are the same. And it's how we want to think about it. So measuring success. So the first way to think about that is once we have our goals in place, whatever that is, going back to school, getting a job in the med tech industry or teaching, we should identify critical success factors, meaning what are the specific steps that we need to take to get there, right? So if I have a goal to work for a company that I've always desired, let's just say Adidas is at the top of the list here alphabetically. And let's say that I want to work for Adidas and I want to work within their learning and development program and be a learning development consultant that teaches new hires how to service customers. I would want to identify the critical success factors associated with that job, right? Meaning, what are the specific skill sets and or competencies that that job would look for and that I look for internally that would be measured, that I can measure against that. So does that job, if monetary rewards are important to me, does that job pay what I'm wanting it to? Does it give me the work-life balance for the goals that I have? And does it internally fulfill me as well? So defining what those critical success factors are for you is very important. And that's something that you can write down with your goals. And that's how you actually start to think about what you measure, right? And my advice would be, when you think about your goals and how to achieve them, it of course takes an array of steps, but being able to write it down and draw out your steps in a simplified manner, 2, 3, 4, 5 bullet points on how you get there will help set your direction. Now, once you have that direction set on how you want to get there, if you want to be a learning and development consultant, or you want to code, or you want to be VP of the world, whatever that might be, you need to figure out the different measures for those critical success factors, right? So that means, how do you know that you hit your goal? So if there's a specific requirement for you for pay, were you able to negotiate the salary that you wanted? Does it give you the vacation days that you may or may not want? And does it align with what is going to fulfill you internally and externally? And being able to actually put a number to that, to measure it, can help you in some ways. And that's when developing a measurement scorecard actually would come into play. So a measurement scorecard essentially is something that can be created. We do this a lot in the business realm, where you can actually take a piece of paper and your critical success factors and your measurements are there, and you can check a box and say, hey, I was able to meet these standard measures of success pertaining to me. And these standard measures of success, like I said, can vary from person to person. And in terms of developing a scorecard, you can actually search some of these on the internet. You could just type in measurement scorecard, individual scorecard, and it will help guide you to figuring out what that looks like, right? So a lot of you are here today, and you're probably having discussions with different employers regarding different jobs that you want to get. And some of the questions that you want to be asking to these employers, to these possible employers, are exactly what we're talking about right now. Is, will the monetary compensation be something that is fulfilling for me? Is the job something that I enjoy doing and will want to stay? Is the company a place where I can be myself, that will promote me, will allow me to thrive? And do what I need to do. And so my suggestion for you, for everyone, is if you are talking to potential employers today, to start practicing this. And I think Sticks and Stones did a very nice job of sending out I think it was a list of 10 different ways to prepare. And to help even simplify that further, when you're talking to possible various employers, understanding the specific needs for a specific job that are out there and understanding how to get that job is an important piece of this. So asking questions around the company, around the job itself are important. It shows interest and it shows that you have already looked at the company, it's a place that you want to possibly work, and that you've invested some time, right? So I'm sure you've heard this a lot. There's something we call the war on talent, and employers are looking for the best of the best. And so you want to come across as best of the best of an employee when it comes to that. So today would be a really good time to think about what it is that you've wanted, if you haven't already written it down, and making sure that your questions, or that the exhibitors that you visit and the jobs that you're looking into align with what you're looking for, and that you're open-minded, right? So life takes us in some very strange directions. I never thought I would actually be teaching at a university, and somehow that happened. So being open-minded is a very important piece of this. So as you are talking with employers, I would even challenge you to ask them, what are the critical success factors that you look for when you're hiring employees, and how do you measure that, right? And then thinking about when you leave there, if those critical success factors and measurements align with your specific internal goals, if that's the direction you want to go. And also to know that interviewing, if you don't get the job the first time, it's okay. If it's a place that you want to be, and if it's a specific job that you like, it's very important to continue communication with that organization. I kind of think of it like dating sometimes, almost, right? It's not always the most fun, and it can be awkward at times. But it can take 2, 3, 4, 5 visits or tries sometimes to get to where you want to go and get to know somebody. And it's okay to go into a job, want it, do your best in an interview, and not get it. It's important to do the follow-up with it and self-evaluate why you did not get the job, right? And I would even think about aligning that again with critical success factors and measures. And I would even ask the employer for feedback if they're able to give it around that. So when you go back and you think about reevaluating goals that you write down, that you have a more focused area of interest as you write down your goals, right? So if it's your first time thinking about specific goals or power of positivity, they're probably going to be very broad in nature. And as you start to drill down and figure out what you want to do, what employees you want to work for specifically, and starting to ask questions to these employers, your lists and your goals and your notes around critical success factors and measurements should start to funnel down and become, and it should become more defined in nature, is how I should put it. Right? So you know what needs to be done for a specific job or a specific competency that needs to be met. And last but not least, after being able to develop that, this is a very key piece that I think I mentioned briefly, which is being open-minded, right? So if you just moved to Berlin, congratulations, you likely stepped out of your comfort zone. Or if you just moved to Germany, you stepped outside of your comfort zone. But I think this picture really embodies exactly what life is like, right? Every single one of us typically stays inside of a comfort zone, inside of our bubble, because it's what we know. If you've already made a move to a different country, congratulations. You're a very brave person. And continue to be brave, because when we step outside of our bubble and we're open-minded and we let life take us in different directions based on our goals that we find personal and important, it will tend to lead us in directions we had not thought of before, and will present opportunities that you may or may not have thought of. So continue to be open-minded. Continue to write down goals, continue to journal, and make sure that you continue to have a positive attitude, even if you don't always succeed. Sometimes it's hard to dust off that frustration, but when we do, especially employers can see that, right? Tenacity. Tenacity means essentially going after what you want and not giving up. Employers like tenacity when they're looking at the war on talent, right? So if at first you don't succeed, dust it off and try again. Like I said, I wanted to keep this short and simple and in nature. And if you want to, I will have a Q&A where we can get in depth if you want to talk about how to actually write down goals, how to formulate them, how to think about critical success factors, how to measure them, and what a scorecard can look like. And in the Q&A, I'd be happy to share with you a few websites from Harvard Business Review that talk about these things that are very simplistic in nature and that can help direct you towards the right place. Again, so this is my first time presenting on a platform like this. I hope it went okay. Relatively quick and easy presentation, but I'm very happy to be here with all of you. I will be moving to the Q&A if you want to go more in depth and have a discussion around my story and what that was like, and or something very specific and personal to you, and or want some help thinking about how to formulate those goals. I greatly, greatly, greatly appreciate everybody's time. And, thank you so very, very much for this. And that's all I have for you guys. Thank you.